In this year's NBA playoffs, we have seen a lot of crazy things happen. We saw the Game 7 scoring record be broken twice. We saw a number 1 seed go down in the first round because of the fact that this is not a normal 8th seed this year. But all the while, the first seed in the West held steady. The Denver Nuggets are in the finals for the first time in franchise history. They walked past the Timberwolves, extinguished the Suns, and swept LeBron James in the conference finals. The Nuggets have arrived, and they're not stopping until they see a ring. And the man they have to thank for that is the man that ties his wedding ring into his shoelaces every game. Nikola, the best player in the world, Jokic. Now, I understand that's not his actual nickname, his real nickname, way cooler. But can that title be denied anymore? Sure, Embiid won MVP this year, but does anyone actually think he's better than Jokic? If you do, then you're probably a Sixers fan, because Jokic has entered another stratosphere in the playoffs. Absolutely everything revolves around him. He's part of the play every single possession. Whether it's himself scoring, grabbing the rebound, or dishing out the assist, it feels like Jokic makes the right move every single time. Try to think of the last time you saw him with the ball and thought, that was a bad move. I don't know if even I can. The 2-time MVP is doing it on both ends of the court as well. There's advanced numbers that say he's much more of an elite defender than we all give him credit for. It's not his Achilles heel anymore. Jokic has improved to the point where he can hold down the paint at a pretty good rate. You also need to keep in mind his offensive load on the team. It's insane he can do everything he does, and then run down to the other side of the floor and guard the paint. But enough about Jokic, because I'm sure you already knew all about that stuff. Nikola Jokic is good at basketball. What a surprise. So let's move on to his sidekick, Jamal Murray. The Blue Arrow had to miss the previous 2 postseasons due to injury. He left the Nuggets with Jokic and a bunch of role players. It was kind of brutal, but now that Murray's back, we see all the things he brings to the table, mainly in his ball handling and scoring capabilities. Without Murray, Jokic needs to run full-on point guard. But when Murray is there, he can run the point guard role for stretches, while Jokic can be the connective tissue for the whole team. Which, another quick aside, the connective tissue between these 2 Denver stars is unbelievable. They've built a relationship that spans multiple contracts, a fact that's starting to become unheard of around the rest of the league. Jokic and Murray always know where each other are on the court. They have this almost sixth sense between each other, and they know exactly what they want to do in each possession. It's honestly an underrated superpower that I think we've seen help them a lot this postseason. In the first round, they beat the Timberwolves, who could never quite grapple with the insertion of Rudy Gobert in the roster. Next up were the Suns, a team that basically gutted themselves in order to trade for Kevin Durant. Booker and KD were fantastic in that series, but you could tell they were trying to figure out how to play as a unit on the fly. Then you factor in the Lakers, a team that rebuilt itself at the trade deadline, and you could start to see this theme of continuity win out in the Western Conference. Murray and Jokic have been in multiple playoff runs together, and now it's their time to finish it out. Murray can obviously catch fire some nights and drop 30 and a half. He has a shooting stroke to launch from deep, as well as a dribble package that can get him inside the paint. Then you look at a guy like Michael Porter Jr. A lot of people saw this guy in high school and college looking like a future offensive juggernaut. While injuries, it seems, have squashed that kind of ceiling, he's still a 6'10" forward that's unafraid to fire away from deep. We might not ever get 30 from him in a half, but he remains steady and can still attribute at a high level for this contending team. I mean, who's going to end up guarding this catch and shoot guard with the height of a center? You're going to keep your true big men on Jokic, so that leaves small forwards to guard MPJ, aka he's getting his shot off every time. Also, before we move on from this young forward, have you guys noticed his new love for defense? Again, when this guy was coming into the league, he was seen as a pure scorer, but now he's found a role in Denver that needs him to be this pseudo 3-and-D wing, and it's working. Porter Jr. has remained way more aware of defensive assignments and can use his long limbs to bother wings he's guarding. He's going to be crucial in the finals at guarding all these wings from the East. The final man for Denver's Big Four is Aaron Gordon. And yes, I do call it a Big Four because in the final game of the Lakers series, they all played basically the entire game. Jokic, Murray, MPJ, and Gordon have been the ones to make this Nuggets run happen. And Gordon's defense and artistic cutting abilities have been another key cog in the machine. His time in Orlando, where he needed to try and carry the scoring load, is long gone. This guy was never meant to be the first or even second option on a team. He is absolutely thriving as the third and fourth option offensively, allowing him to focus his energy more on hunting down the best player on the other team. He's been swallowing up opposing stars with his long wingspan and muscle-bound frame. He's also had one of the best regular seasons of his entire career. He was an efficient 16 points with almost 7 rebounds and 3 assists. Some were even calling for him for the All-Star game. Some were. I'll be honest, I was not one of them, but I do really like his play. He's been in the Mile High City now long enough to pick up some of that connective tissue with Jokic. His cuts to the basket are perfectly timed to get easy dunks. Or he just floats around the dunker spot waiting for his opportunity to get the second chance points. All around, this foursome really does have what it takes to bring home a championship. And just what would that mean to the franchise? And maybe even more importantly, Nikola Jokic? For Denver, it'd be the first championship in franchise history. Created in 1967 in the ABA, the city has never seen a chip in all of these years. They're also the last remaining former ABA team to not make the finals. It just seems to have taken them a little bit longer to scale the league mountain at that altitude. And now that they've made it, I think we might see them at the peak multiple times. And for Jokic, this gets into his legacy as a player. I think it's fair to say that Jokic most likely would have won the MVP this year if three-peating wasn't such an otherworldly stat. Only Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and Larry Bird have managed to do that. So not everyone was ready to put Jokic in that category of player before he even made a finals appearance. Yes, it is supposed to be a regular season award, but I think we all know the narratives that can affect the voting. The Joker winning his first ring could confirm in everybody's eyes that he is a once-in-a-lifetime player like those other names. He already belongs in the upper echelon of NBA history for what he's managed to do statistically already. A chip will be the final blast in a door that was just about to open. The other interesting part of Jokic potentially winning a championship and solidifying himself as the best player in the league is how the league reacts. The front office people are used to marketing characters like LeBron or Steph, not a quiet, goofy guy from Serbia who refuses to do interviews. This guy would rather go with his family to watch horse races than do anything remotely on camera. So the NBA is going to have to grapple with the fact that this is his league now. The league is run by a guy that pulled up to his MVP celebration in Serbia on a little horse and buggy. But for all of us diehard hoops fans, he's all we could have ever wanted. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.